All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Kai. We're back again for day two of our iClone tutorial or webinar series, rather, from A to Z, creating an iClone scene. In today's webinar, we're going to be focusing exclusively on animation. We're going to be adding a couple of other things in there as well, such as background sound effects and everything. I have the outline right here, so if you want to take a look at this, it's on our webinar page. We're going to try and cover all of this stuff here. We may not get to the simple effects. This is a webinar loaded full of all kinds of animation goodies. But if you have any questions about, different procedures and processes and everything like that, or anything you want to know, again, we have that Q&A session, question and answer session at the end of today. That'll be about 10 minutes, hopefully, around there. We went a little bit over time yesterday, so apologies for that. But yes, we're going to be focusing exclusively on animation today. And again, just a reminder, we're also going to be sending you a survey via email there. So if you fill out that survey, we'll be giving you a 10% discount to anything you purchase on the content store. So if you purchase a lot, you save more, I guess, whatever. 10% anyways is the discount you get for filling out that survey for us. And again, we are recording this webinar, so if I go too fast at any point, you can feel free to just, we'll be sending you a link via email as well, and you can feel free to check that out on your own time and pause and fast forward and rewind and whatnot. All right, so again, a simple reminder as well that tomorrow we're going to be, Chris Morris is going to be hosting the Scene Refinement and Lighting webinar. Hopefully, he's actually in Southern California right now where they have all those crazy fires going on, and I think he hasn't had to flee his home yet, but hopefully he's there for tomorrow. So just a little warning there that hopefully he'll be there available for us to do this the scene refinement and lighting tomorrow for day 3. But if he's not, then it's circumstances beyond our control. All right, so let's get started. We have a lot to get through, like I mentioned, and let's get started right off the bat here. So I'm going to go ahead and go into iClone, where I have the scene that we ended off with yesterday. We created the scene. We have this arcade and everything. We have the desk in the background and this pipe that we created and everything, all this sort of stuff. And what we're going to talk about now is animation. The first thing we're going to talk about is a question I often got asked before is, how do I make my character walk downstairs? Well, it's actually not super easy, but I'm going to show you the easiest way that I've found to walk down the stairs. If you have any other recommendations, feel free to put them in the questions section there. You go to webinar panel. Any suggestions, I'd welcome. Any tips on because everyone has their own different workflow, but this is the kind of way that I use my I use to create a walking downstairs animation. All right, so we have Zane here. Zane from our embedded iClone character. We're going to make him walk down this flight of stairs. Probably just three sets of stairs here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place him on the top stair here, or on the third stair from the top there, or from the bottom rather. And what we want to do is make him walk down the stairs. Now, what I want to do is make sure that we have foot contact on for Zane here. Okay, so make sure you have foot contact selected because it makes it a lot easier to do any sort of animation here. Let me just check here. Okay, good. All right, so if I have foot contact on, you'll notice that his foot will go right through the stairs, unfortunately. But once he hits the ground plane, we'll have that human IK in motion there, and he'll bend his legs naturally there. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that all of the steps on our staircase are able to have that same effect as the ground plane. So the way you do this is that you actually create a dummy, or rather a prop. You can import a prop in. Go to your props up here, and under props, just find your any sort of rectangular item. Whoops, let's go to 3D blocks here rather. Any sort of rectangular or cube box that you have. I'm just going to bring in this box 002, and I'm going to make it the shape of our stair, each step on the staircase. So I'm going to use the R hotkey to scale this down, and W to bring it up. We're going to just place it right the same size as the third stair there. Okay, so R again, and just kind of scale it down there to about that thickness, and then we can, bring it to about here. I think that's, relatively the same size. It doesn't have to be exact. Again, you can just something like this will be okay, and I think we're good. Okay, so just place it basically in the exact same position that you have your stair in. So just about here, and just make sure that the front there is equal. So we'll put it just right there, okay? And Now, if we take Zane and we bring him down, whoops, he still goes right through the staircase, which is an issue there. So what we want to do here is we want to select this this little prop that we've added here, and right-click it and select Convert to Terrain. And once you convert it to terrain, then you'll have the option to Zane. If you bring him down, boom, there we have the human IK. Voila. Okay. So that's all you have to do to just convert your prop to terrain, and you can have foot and hand contact just like that. Okay, so I'm going to Control Z that a couple times, because what we want to do before we convert it to terrain is we want to make a couple of copies here. So let's hold Control, click and drag, and that'll make a copy of this. You can only copy it when it's a prop. Unfortunately, you can't copy it as a terrain, because terrain is like kind of one single item. So let's just Control, click and drag on the third stair. And we can, even do it on the last step, but we'll just we don't have to worry about that for now. Okay, so I'm going to Control click on all of my steps then, right click and convert them all to terrain. Okay, so now all of these are terrain. If we go over here to our scene manager here, you'll have a separate terrain section, and you can see our box, all our boxes there. Okay, cool. So the next step is to have Zane walk. All right, so the easiest way to make a character walk in iClone, you may or may not be aware, is using the motion puppet tool. All right, so I'll just kind of place them right there. Looks good enough. So I'm going to go over here to the animation tab, and under motion puppet, now you can apply any sort of animation to your character. I'm just going to use this motion puppet walk because it's easy and it's embedded with iClone, and everyone has it. Okay, so we're going to go to the move section here, and we're just going to use a basic walk. If I press space to preview, there's your basic Zane walk, or not Zane walk, any kind of character's walk. All right. Oops, I forgot I have some music going on in the background of this project. So we'll deal with that later. We'll just turn the volume down for now. And yes, okay. So just ignore that for now. I'll just go ahead and all we need to do is we're going to record a walk cycle here. Now, I wanted to mention before we get into the walk cycles here that there's a really excellent tutorial online from a dude named Alan Becker here. You can see Alan Becker animating walk cycles. It's a 4-minute long tutorial, and it tells you all you need to know about animating walk cycles, all in 4 minutes. It's excellent, well worth your time. I'm just going to share it to the chat window here in the GoToWebinar panel. Okay, so any links or whatever, I'll send to the chat window, so you can check those out on your own time. I'd highly recommend it. Okay, so I can close this down for now. We'll get to Mixamo in a little bit here. Okay, so let's create a walk cycle. All we really need to do is one single walk cycle, like one step basically, or 2 steps, I guess. Okay, so again, you can use all these sliders to modify it, but I'm just going to go with the basics. Let's go ahead and press record and then space. 1, 2, that's basically all we need. Okay, press space to stop recording. And we'll close that down. Press F3 to go into our timeline. And here we have our puppet clip. All right, so what I want to do is I want to start off with, it's going a little bit laggy here for some reason. Hopefully that does not continue. Not sure what's going on here. All right, so what I'm going to do anyways is we're going to start with our left foot planted, okay? So I have another actual a visual that you guys can take a look at here. Production resources. I believe it is in this folder. Nope, the other folder. Here we go. Walk cycle. All right. So this is the basics of your walk cycle. There's 4 different poses. There's the pose where your character's heel makes contact with the ground. So this is called the contact pose. Okay. So you can see his left heel is making contact with the ground, and then his body kind of goes down as he kind of moves forward. And then there's a passing pose where the right leg passes the left one. And this one goes a little bit up as well. And then there's this pose here where his left leg is behind and his right leg is forward and about to make contact on the right side. Okay, so it just goes, loops around and around and around. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to start with the left foot planted. Okay, so right about here. All right, now let's just move Zane a little bit further back. Using the W key for the transform. Now there's an issue here that his right leg is actually embedded into the step there, so we obviously don't want that. So what I'm going to do to get rid of that is we're going to use our edit motion layer tool here. So this is where you can modify using keyframes, modify your poses using keyframes. And I'm just going to take his left leg here. Now notice on the ankles there it says T and R. That's a transform and rotation lock. Okay. And what I'm going to do is just get rid of that for the character's right leg. And we're going to use the E hotkey to rotate his leg up like this. And we're going to take the thigh and move it a little bit forward like this as well. All right, so it's just something like this. And we just want to get it so that his leg is maybe about posed like this. We can probably bring that ankle forward a little bit as well. All right, and that looks about okay right there. All right, so there's our first pose right there, our initial pose. So what I'm going to do now is we want to go over to, let's go to frame 20 here. So frame 20 is, okay, before we go anywhere else, I'm just going to actually cut this clip. I'm going to break this clip, and we're only going to use the data that we need. So right now we have his left foot planted, and right foot forward, right foot planted, and we're just going to basically cut the clip right about here, right before he makes contact with his left foot again. Okay, so this is really all we need, and we're going to just loop that over and over again. So it's about frame 57. We can just go ahead and right click and break the clip, and we're going to take the second part of the clip and just delete it. All right, that's all we need. Okay, so let's continue on. So the next frame that we're going to mess around with here is frame 20. So we have the contact, okay, contact with the left foot, and then frame 20 is the next pose here, which is the down, and the right foot is now, passing the about to pass the left foot. So let's go ahead and create that pose here. Now we want to make sure that our left foot is still planted on that stair. So what we can do is we can actually change our character's transform position. Okay, keep that consistent and bring it forward like this. Okay, to the front of the stair. So then between, you'll see a key appear in the transform track right there. Okay, so just like this. And then at this point here, we're going to, he needs to be in the down position. So we're going to go ahead and use the edit motion layer tool. We'll take his hip and we'll bring his hip down. So the hip will actually bring the character's entire body down, right? And because the feet are locked, you'll see that the feet will remain in the same position. We can actually take the lock off the right foot there and, oops, let's make sure we unlock that there and take the center here and bring his whole body down like this. Okay, but the right foot is not supposed to be passing the left foot just yet, so we're going to take that back a little bit now. Okay, just like this, and maybe to about this position, and we'll bring it up a little bit like that, and this ankle can go like this. Okay, so that'll be an okay pose right there. So from here, you'll see he'll just start passing right there, and then the next pose, or rather this one here, we're going to bring it a little bit forward actually, the foot forward, just like this. Okay, and maybe a little bit forward back like this. Okay, just because it's a little bit different here with the steps. So I'm going to modify this slightly, and we can take our characters back and rotate it forward as well here a little bit, since he's kind of walking down the steps like this. Okay, there we go. I don't want to spend too much time on this walk cycle because we have a lot of stuff to get through. So, and you can see here, okay, we're fine with the steps. So this one here is the passing, and then at 40, they're going to have the next step here. So 20 right here, and 40 is where we're basically making contact with the right foot here. So let's take the right foot and bring this one down. The left foot should still be planted here. Let's just bring this right foot down here like this. And the left foot will need to bring that down as well. Okay, you can see we can use the human IK there as well. Okay, so then what we have is this, and I'm actually going to open up the motion track here. Oops, Zane, need to open up his motion layer track. This one's not, it's not opening for some reason. Okay, you should be able to open up this motion track. It looks like you might have a bug here or something. Anyways, okay, so we're not going to be able to edit the motion layer keys for some reason. It's not allowing us to. But anyway, so we have this one here, and so he's stepping down like this, and then this foot right here at frame 40 we want to have the right foot planted on the ground. So just like this. And we can adjust his transform position as well. So let's close this down and adjust his transform position slightly. So it's just kind of slightly down like this. All right, just like we had before at the previous step. And so now he's taking a right foot forward and right foot down like that. And then we need to make sure that that right foot is planted in the correct position there. Edit motion layer tool here, and again we need to make sure that that right foot is planted at the end here. So take that right foot forward, keep it on that same step, down like this. All right, and there's definitely something a bug going on here with the program. So anyways, there's the right foot, and then at the end here we want to make sure that the character is going a little bit forward as well, like this. And the left foot is, okay, about to make contact. All right, so let's go ahead and play that back real quick. All right, so it's going to be like this basically. This is really all we need. Okay, and at this point here, we also want him to be a little bit forward, so because his left foot is about to make contact at the next point here. So let's just bring this down just like this, and his hip down a little bit. Okay, I mean to just take the lock off that left foot there. All right, so he's about to step down with that left foot there. Okay, now one thing you want to be careful of as well. It looks okay from the side, but if you take a look at it from the front, your character's hips might be a little bit off. Okay, so right here, notice that his hips are a little bit crooked. So all we need to do is just rotate the hips to the correct position there. Make sure that your legs or feet are locked when you do this. Okay, and then at this point here, you're going to see his hips are a little bit crooked as well, so you can kind of just straighten those out like this. Okay, and then at the last frame right here, you'll notice that those hips are crooked a little bit the other way, so kind of bring it over like this. All right, so that's going to be our walk cycle basically. So we have, Zane just kind of walking down like this. All right, now it's kind of sketchy right now because I'm not sure what kind of problem we're having here, but this is essentially the steps that you want to take. Now, if you want to loop this, the easiest way to do that is just to left click in the clip track here, and then right click and add motion to library. You can add it to your desktop, or you can add it to the Reallusion library, default library. I'm just going to save it to my desktop and call it walk stairs for now. All right, and just save that to my desktop here. And so then what you're going to do is at this frame here, at the first frame after that clip, we're going to apply that same motion to Zane. Okay, so we're going to go here to walk stairs on my desktop, click and drag it, and apply it to Zane. And you notice at the first frame of the second clip, he's way up here on the transform position will totally change. So all you want to do here is just make sure that Zane's on the level here, so to speak. All right, so bring him back down to earth. And here we go. And then you also want to make sure at the first frame of the, there's this little transition area here. At the first frame of the transition area, you want to make sure that he's actually in position as well, in the correct position. So something like this, okay? And so then he'll walk down like this. Okay, he'll continue walking down the stairs. All right, so didn't turn out tremendously at this point, but I'm not sure what's wrong. There's kind of a bug going on. So what I might do here is I might actually try and load a different project here. Or actually, I'll go to my content tab here and see if I can't fix this here. We are experiencing some kind of bug issue there. Apologies for that. I'm going to go to my custom tab here. I think I have it saved previously. So under custom, yeah, here we have a walk. I'm going to just go ahead and apply this one here. All right. So let's bring Zane into position here. There we go. Okay. Now we need to get rid of these transform keyframes here as well. All right, so here's what we want to do. Okay, there he is walking down the steps right there. Okay, so that one worked. Luckily, I had it previously saved, okay? And at this point here, we don't need him to walk down the stairs anymore. So as his foot makes contact with the with the last stair right here, what we can do is we can just break the clip, and we can just get rid of the rest of the stuff here. All right. All right, so what I'm going to do next is now that we're done that walk cycle there, apologies for the bug there, but once we're done that walk cycle, we can have him kind of just have a pose here, and we'll just give him like a, I don't know, regular kind of pose. We'll go to the motion here under templates, and I'm just going to bring this timeline down a little bit here. And under motions, we'll find poses. I'm just going to give him like a male pose. And standing with the hand on the waist, that sounds good. Okay, and of course we need to bring him back up. Transform position back up. And this project's a little bit weird because the floor is actually quite a bit higher above the ground plane. So, and then again, if you do this, you're going to need to, let's just bring it over here actually. And at this frame here, for some reason, the transition area is not showing. So at this frame here, we're going to have to bring it back down to Earth, okay? And there we go. Okay, so we're going to have him go into this pose. Now, because I can't see the transition area for some reason, again, probably due to some kind of weird bug going on here, we're just going to put a keyframe in each one of these tracks here, or each one of these keyframes here, or each one of these frames. Okay, so we'll just work with that. Okay, so he stands up, quite suddenly. Generally, you wouldn't want to do that, but I'm not sure what's going on with the transition area. I can't see it. Normally, you should be able to click and drag this clip and have a transition area up here, but I'm not sure what's going on with this. All right, seems to be having some kind of weird bug. All right, but at this point here, bear with me here. We're going to go ahead and apply a Mixamo motion to our character. So this is basically walking down the stairs and getting your character into a pose. And what we're going to do now is we're going to download a number of different Mixamo motions, and I'm going to apply those to different characters in our scene, and then we're going to move on to character animations and talking and camera work and all that stuff. Okay, so to download Mixamo animations, you can just go to Mixamo.com. Make sure you logged into your Mixamo account, or Adobe account, I guess you can say. And all I have is I pay about $9 a month for Adobe Photoshop, and I have access to all these all these motions here, tons and tons and tons of stuff here. I'd highly recommend just even for $9 a month, just have access to all these. I really recommend getting that, checking that out. But what we're going to do now is we're going to download a couple of these, and I'm going to show you how to download just a couple. You don't need to download all of them. There's one called Turning, so you just search for it here, Turning, and you can preview the animation right here just by clicking it, and it'll show it in the little preview window over here. Okay, so it's easy to animate a turn, but I'm just going to show you how to download it. You can just select it like that and just go ahead and download. And you can download it to FBX. You don't need skin. You can download it with skin or without skin. It doesn't really matter. I just tend to download it with skin because you can get rid of the skin later anyways. And then just go ahead and download that. And I already have these downloaded, I believe, in a folder. But what we need to do before we bring them in, I'm going to use this turning one, and there's also one called sitting. Okay, so there's like a girl sitting like this, where she's kind of swinging her legs. You can see the preview like that. So that's going to be for the little girl in the scene. You may remember her from the video you saw in the first day of the webinar. And then there's a standing greeting. Again, there's literally like hundreds and hundreds of free animations on this site, so I'd recommend checking it out. And then there's also a couple other ones. Okay, anyways, we're just going to show these for now. You just go ahead and download them, and they'll download as FBX files to your folder. Let's try and close this down. Let's see if this won't maybe solve our lag problems here. Okay, so anyways, we have this, and just ignore this kind of little jump up there. Okay, so you can do frame by frame. Generally, you should be able to adjust the transition area there. But okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to apply that turning motion to our character. But first, we need to convert it to iClone format. So whenever you take an animation from Mixamo or any sort of external FBX animation, what you need to do is bring it through 3D Exchange and convert it to iClone format. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go File and open, or we can just find the folder actually, probably easier. All right, so we have, I'm going to show you an example here. This, oh, there's another one. Sit to stand is the other one I wanted to download. Okay, so just this turning one, I'll show you how to do really quickly. Okay, so we're going to just apply that. You want to import animation, make sure you have that selected, obviously. And okay, so pops up with the familiar looking Mixamo dummy character. And what you want to do first is you want to go to convert to non-standard. So this converts it to a non-standard iClone rig, which means after you convert it to non-standard, you can apply it to any iClone character whatsoever, like any iClone character in the program you can apply it to. All right, because they all share the same non-standard rig. Okay, so we'll go ahead and select convert to non-standard, and you need to just go ahead to the presets and go to My Human IK, because it's My Human IK motion. That should work. Not sure why it's not. Wow. Having a lot of weird issues today. Go ahead and try it again. My Human IK. Well, they are My Human IK rigs, so they should be able to. Let's just try a different one, maybe. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. And we have to send you a previous version of this recording if we keep on having these sort of issues. All right, convert to non-standard. Give me a Maya rig. Okay, okay, doesn't seem to be working. So maybe there's a new bug that popped up with version 7, because I think the last time I did this, it might have been with 7.0. So maybe 7.1, there's some kind of issue. Anyways, the steps that you take here are you change it to My Human IK, and you need to load a T-pose here. You need to load the My Human IK T-pose right here. I may not be showing here at this moment. I think I may need to reset my computer. Oh boy, okay, anyway, so what you want to do here is you want to select the bone on your character and then select the respective bone on the rig there, just like this, if you want to do it manually, okay? So we'll just try and do it really quickly manually here and see if this works. Okay, so if you come across a situation, you know, where your character is not, your rig is not a My Human IK rig, it's a regular rig, or you know, some sort of custom rig that you've created, this is the step that you want to take. Okay, so you want to use these and go into your spine and start from the bottom, like that, and then, oops, then we have the not the neck, the chest. Okay, so these shoulder bones right here, and this one right here. There we go, and just go ahead and do this manually. I'm not going to bother with our character's hands or with the fingers, because that just takes too much time. And there we go. Okay, and finally the head bone right there. All right, then you should be able to go active and preview your T-pose and preview a basic walk, or not. Okay. And what I'm going to do here is just go up to the top, and you want to make sure that your feet offset are automatically set there. Make sure your character is in a basic T-pose, and you should be able to just load a T-pose here, the My Human IK T-pose, I believe. And you should be able to preview all this stuff like a basic run. Doesn't seem to be working at this time, so just go ahead and convert it. Hopefully it shows up here. So we have the standing greeting in the motion library here. You should be able to double click and preview that. Anyways, after you're done that, we are going through the correct procedure, but it's just not showing up here for some reason. So after you're done that, that's basically all you need to do. You can go ahead and apply it to iClone, or you can go to export here to iClone and just choose your, you don't need to export the geometry. So this is where you can get rid of all the mesh and everything like that. You want to select export animation, and you want to just export that to your whatever folder you want, your default custom folder or desktop or anything like that. Make sure that the motion is in the perform editor. All right, so let's go ahead and just delete this unnecessary one here. Make sure that it's like this range, so frame 1 to frame 306. And again, you should be able to preview this. Not sure why it's not working. But okay, we'll just that's kind of showing you through the process there. Luckily, I have it saved. So we do have it saved. under this folder right here. All right, so here is our, or rather, it's the previous folder that I was just in there. Under Mixamo. Okay, here we have it. So we have all the motions saved right here, and we can apply them to our character. So I'm going to just go ahead and apply this turning Mixamo to Zane right here. All right, so there's our transition area suddenly appearing. Okay, good. So from here to here, let's just delete all those transform keyframes. So this is the area, this is the transition area that I was missing before, guys. So what you want to do is at the beginning of the transition area, make sure that your character is in the correct pose. And just like this, okay, bring him up like that. And then at frame 1 of the next clip, you want to make sure that he's, at a reasonable pose, just like this. And you bring him forward a little bit. So from here to here, okay, I'm not sure why it's still kind of popping up like that, but okay. So this is, he'll just kind of step down like this, and he'll start his turn. Okay, so maybe we want him to be a little bit more forward actually as well. So maybe from here, I'm going to bring him a little bit forward, and then here a little bit forward, and this frame here a little bit forward. You want to make sure that the feet position are fairly consistent. Okay, and there is our turn. All right, we finally achieved the turn. Okay, and if you want him to turn like at a stronger angle, what you want to do is at this frame here, we're going to add a keyframe in the transform track as he begins his turn, and then as he's stepping like this, we want to rotate him further. Okay, but keep in mind that we need to make sure that back foot is in the same position there. So like this, kind of pivoting like that, and then from here to here, we can rotate it further like this. But again, we need to make sure that the foot is in that the right foot is in the relatively same position there. Okay, looks good enough to me. Okay, so now he's kind of facing us. So that's how you can make the turn a bit more, at a bit stronger of an angle there. Okay, so we've achieved that turn. Awesome, okay. So let's move on to the next step here then, which is adding in our next character. So we have Zane walking down the stairs and turning. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add in our next character, which is the little girl that you saw in the beginning of the first webinar, first day of the webinar here. So we're going to go to find in our custom characters. I believe she is somewhere in here. I'm going to press Control 1. If your view here is a little bit too large, you can press Control 1 to toggle between the views. And there I have my little girl. So I'm just going to bring her in. And we're going to make sure that we bring her in at frame 1. So I'm going to go back to frame 1 here and get her in the right position. And we're just going to apply that, we're going to apply that seating animation to her. Okay, so the sitting animation that you saw earlier in Mixamo, the preview one. So sitting Mixamo, this one right here. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and click and drag that onto our character from Explorer. There you go. And you want to make sure that her position is correct. So kind of just put her down there like that. And if she's kicking through the coffee table, we can just move the coffee table out of the way because it's easier than adjusting her feet and everything. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that we have everything selected there. Just bring it a little bit forward. A little bit of cheating there, but hopefully you guys don't mind. And okay, so there we have her kind of just, going back and forth like that. And if we want to loop it, we can go ahead and loop it for a few. Make sure you have loop toggled right here. And just click and drag and loop it a few times. Because we want to loop it until Zane finishes walking down the stairs. So here we go. He's walking down the stairs like this, turning around. And then he's going to say something to this girl. Okay, so now we're going to talk about we're going to bring in the first line, okay, with Zane. So we're going to select Zane, and we need to give him a script. So let's go ahead or the animation tab here, we're going to create a script. And I'm going to just add in an audio file here. You can record your own voice, use text-to-speech as well. I have an audio file prepared already. So yeah, so we have the first one is Clementine. And I'll just say, oh yeah, we had the volume down. That's right. We had the volume all the way down. I forgot about that.
Clementine.
Okay, so he says Clementine.
Clementine.
right, we're not going to worry about the facial expressions yet. We're going to get to that in just a moment.
Clementine.
Okay, so at that point, after he says Clementine, she's going to stand up and say, "Hi, Daddy." So we have another, we're going to just break this clip right now, and we're going to transition to the next clip, which is sit to stand. And you can find that in the same folder here. So sit to stand, we're going to just click and drag and apply that to our character. And again, we need to make sure that at the first frame that she is, sitting in the right position. But this sit to stand actually takes a while. You can see she doesn't actually get up until like maybe about this point here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually break the clip almost halfway through. And we're going to delete the first part. We want that stand to be a little bit faster. And I'm going to bring this a little bit over here. And to frame 1, I'm just going to go ahead and bring her into position. Okay, so just like this. So what's going to happen now is, again, see there we can bring the transition area up like this. So, and again, at this first frame, we need to bring her back down like this. And there we go. So we have a transition from there to there, okay? Just like that. So that's what we want. That's how you can kind of easily transition between two different, completely separate animations. And she'll say sit to stand to sit, or sit to stand rather. And then she'll say, "Hi, Daddy." She'll have a standing greeting. Right, this one right here. Click and drag that onto her. Okay, and then we can, increase the transition area with that as well. So, okay, and then that one's a little bit too long as well. So we want to kind of blend these a little bit faster together. So maybe at about this frame, I'm just going to break it again and take this first section and delete it, and then bring this section over a little further and extend that transition area there. And then here she'll say, "Hi, Daddy." Okay. So at this frame, maybe we'll just add a script for Clementine, audio file, and "Hi, Daddy." Okay.
Hi, Daddy.
So that's actually my voice very poorly disguised as a young girl. So apologies for the really poor voice acting there.
Hi, Daddy.
And then Zane's line is next. So Zane, we're going to do some animation for him now. So let's go ahead and select Zane. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the motion puppet tool, but we're going to mask out the legs, because I want the legs to stay in the same position. Okay. So we're going to go to the motion puppet tool right here. And let's actually apply the script first so we have something to work on. So we'll go to create script and audio file for Zane. And says, "Where have you been?" Okay. So now Zane says,
"Where have you been? I've been looking all over for you."
"Where have you been? I've been looking all over for you." So at this frame right here. So let's use the motion puppet from here, and I'm going to just apply a talking motion, talk 01. Now you can see if I press space to preview,
I've been looking all over.
He'll kind of change his direction, which we don't want, obviously. So the way you can avoid this is you can go to your masking and just mask out the legs. Okay, so select the mask tab and mask out the legs. And he shouldn't twirl around like that. But if he does, maybe if we mask out the root, there we go. So you need to mask out the hip as well. The hip and the legs, okay, because the hip is basically the character root. So
"Where have you been? I've been looking all over for you."
Okay, so that works perfectly. Okay, so just a really simple and easy, talking animation like that. So let's go ahead and press record.
"Where have you been? I've been looking all over for you."
Okay, and good enough for me. Now, if we want to get picky, I know we're kind of short on time here. If you want to get picky, of course you can, modify this so that your character's hand doesn't go through his leg or something like this. There's a couple things I want to do here. If you want to avoid the hand going through the thigh like that, an easy way to do that is to go into your edit motion layer tool here and just add a keyframe for your elbow here, or your arm. I'm going to bring that out like this. Okay, and let's see if we can. Okay, now we can twirl down our motion track. Okay, so now we have the motion layer tools. I'm not sure why I wasn't doing it before, so apologies for that, guys. Sometimes these programs can be, there's gremlins inside the computer and they can just be messing with you, and okay, so all we're going to do here is just bring his elbow out. Okay, if you don't want to be going through his leg like that, there you go. Okay, and we can just right click and copy that keyframe
Looking all
to a safe position somewhere over here and paste it, the absolute key, okay? And then right here, we can go ahead and press reset, and that'll reset it back to the original value that's stored in the clip. So it'll be
over for you.
back to normal now, okay? And we're gonna ignore that part where it goes through again. All right, so that's how you can quickly, you know, adjust
I've been looking all
the position like that. Okay, so we have all this, and one more thing I forgot to mention as well is we want him to be looking at Clementine as he walks down the stairs. So kind of basically at the very beginning of his walk down the stairs, we want him to be looking at Clementine. So let's go ahead and go to our character, and we want him to look at the character, or look at Clementine. So at this frame right here, we'll just go look at and pick target, and then we're going to pick Clementine's head here. So you can change the weight to more of the eye, like his eyes are looking at it or his head is looking at it. And you can see if you pay close attention here, let's zoom in on his head there a little bit. So you can see the weight. You can change it more to the eye or the head tilting or the eye tilting. I tend to keep it kind of in the middle right there. So as he moves down like this, and then you can see he's facing her right there. Okay, so we have that taken care of, and we have Clementine's animation taken care of. What's next here? So we have that, and then basically what we're going to do is we're going to bring in the gangster character. We're going to make Clementine disappear, and we're going to bring in the gangster character. So I'll get into the facial expressions after that, right after we bring in the gangster character. Let's just get all the animations done first for the body. So here he is, turn to face Clementine.
Clementine,
Hi, Daddy.
where have you been? I've been looking all over for you.
And then at this point here, we're going to have some camera movement away. So what we're going to do at this point here is we're going to make Clementine invisible, and we're going to make the gangster character visible. So this is at frame 830, around 830. So what I'm going to do first is at frame 1, I'm going to bring in my gangster character here that I already have saved. This is the guy that we created in part 1 of this webinar. And I'll just bring him in, and we're going to give him a mix moves seated animation. So I'll just kind of put him into position first. And let's go to animations here. And motion, the mix moves, CC, mix moves male. There we go. And there is a seated C002 seated animation here. So sit, JK element of P, QRS, PQRS. There's so many of these mixed moves ones. Okay, so this sit C02 is the one we want. So I'm going to apply it to our character and just bring him back into position there. Okay, so it's just basically an idle sit. And at this frame, we want him to be invisible, obviously, but I'm just going to loop the sit animation for the duration of the project here. Okay, so just kind of loop it all the way till the end, pretty much. And at frame 01, we want him to be invisible because we're going to change the camera angle and make him visible once the hallucination that Zane has is complete. So, okay, at frame 1, generally what you want to do, you'd think that you can go over here to scene and you can hide and show your gangster like this. But notice that the eyeball here is white. This is not a green eyeball. The eyeball up here is green, which means you can keyframe it. You can change the value throughout the timeline. Okay, so anything that's green means you can change its value and animate it throughout the timeline. So frame 0, frame 1, we want this guy to be invisible. So let's make him invisible, and we have the Clementine visible. So and let's just skip over to frame 830 or whatever it was that I wanted to change it to. Okay, and at this frame, we want the gangster to be visible, so let's make him visible again. And at this frame, we want Clementine, or little girl, to be invisible. So let's just make her invisible. Okay, and notice that there's a little bit of an issue. This comes kind of like a bug that occurs. You'll see that she'll kind of be missing her clothes at the beginning. All you need to do is just toggle it back on and toggle it back off, or toggle it off and on again, and it'll fix that issue. So at frame whatever it is, 830, we're going to switch just like that. Boom. Okay, so this character appears, that character disappears, and it's just kind of the easiest way to do things. Okay, so now we have that, and let's just go back and get our timing correct.
All over for you.
And then the camera's going to move, and then our gangster guy is going to say, "Oh, I've been around, Zane." So now it's his turn for the script. So let's go over here to animation and create script, audio file. I've been around. He says,
"Oh, I've been around, Zane. Your daughter, on the other hand. Well, that's what I'm here to talk about."
Okay, so kind of the storyline is this gangster kind of kidnapped his daughter, and he's hallucinating that that she's actually there, but in reality, it's the gangster. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is make sure the gangster is looking at Zane as well.
"Oh, I've been around, Zane. Your daughter, on the other hand."
Okay, so at the beginning, what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and have the gangster look at Zane. All right, just again using that same look at feature that I showed you before. Now, you'll notice here that if we select the gangster and we go over here to the constraint track, this is where your keyframe is for the constraint. So there's a look at constraint right here. If we twirl down the constraint, there's a look at constraint. So what I want to do here is I actually want to go ahead and set free. And it's going to set a keyframe right there. So that's what we want to do is, pick target and then set it free again. And I want him to gradually look up at Zane as the timeline progresses. So now I'm going to pick target here. I'm going to pick Zane. So from here to here, there'll be a transition where his head will kind of start at the bottom like this. Take special note of his head here. If I can zoom in so you can see it a bit better. From this frame to this frame, you'll see it'll gradually adjust and to the point where now he's looking at Zane.
"Oh, I've been around, Zane. Your daughter, on the other hand."
Okay, maybe you can make that a little bit faster.
"Zane, your daughter, on the other hand."
Okay, and of course you can right-click on that and use transition curves as well if you want. You can have it like a damping. I think this one would be best with the ease in and ease out.
"Your daughter, on the other."
Okay, so we'll just use a nice ease in and ease out transition curve between these two keyframes.
"Around, Zane. Your daughter, on the other hand. Well, that's what I'm here to talk about."
Okay, so now I want to go. I'm going to give a quick example. I'm not going to do all the characters' facial animations because we don't obviously have time for that. But what I'm going to show you is the fastest way that I know of to do characters' facial animation. So we're going to have Zane walk down the stairs here and turns around.
Clementine.
So as he's saying Clementine, we're going to give him like a kind of a sad or shocked expression on his face. Okay, so the easiest way to do that is I'm going to close down the motion track here and the constraint track for Zane, and we're going to load up the expression track and the Visine tracks. Okay, so these are the tracks you want to open for your character's expression and the lip sync and everything. We don't have time to get into lip sync, obviously, but expression here, what I'm going to do is go to your character, and we want to go to face key editor right here. So down here we have face key editor, and kind of a cheating way to do this is go to expressions here, the expression tab, and I just like to go to like others and or rather happy, and you can find like a regular expression here. Just select happy right here, or since he's kind of sad or afraid, we can go to fear. All right, so this kind of looks like he's really missing his daughter. Not that one. It's kind of a strange fear, but so this would be kind of the expression you'd expect him to have as he's just lost his daughter. And you can see it adds a track in the muscle track, or adds a keyframe in the muscle track right here. Okay, so just a really quick and then what you want to do here is maybe just change it to a fear like this. Okay, so and then we can go to modify, and you can adjust the values there if you want as well. But I'm just going to go ahead and add a default key here. If you go to muscle and add a default key, this is going to be your basic key right there. Okay, so it kind of blends between these keyframes, and if you want to like merge them into one, you can right-click or hold Shift and select all these together. Hold Shift and multiple select them. Gosh. Okay, and then right-click and yeah. For some reason, it's not selecting them here. There we go. And you can flatten expression clip or sample expression clip. All right, so if you flatten it, it's just going to basically bake it in.
Clementine.
Okay, and then you can adjust, specific muscles as well. So if I select his eyebrow, take up that eyebrow just like that. Okay, and it's going to just add another whatever there. But I'm just going to go ahead and Control Z and undo that. Hope I didn't crash the program here. It's been running kind of sketchy all day, apparently. So. Okay, so we'll just leave him with that worried expression on his face, and then maybe at this frame here, we'll just go ahead and give him a more neutral expression. It's kind of a more regular fear right there, and just kind of tone down the expressiveness. Okay, so you can also do this, tone down the expressiveness as well. And I'll take this frame here. I'm going to right-click it, and we're going to copy it and paste it over here. So from this frame into this frame, he'll have that expression.
Hi, Daddy.
Okay, and then he'll just go back to this. So that's the easiest kind of way that I know, the easiest and fastest, most accurate way to create facial expressions on your character. And okay, so we have a little bit of time for camera movement and sound as well. Now the background sound that I have going on right now is kind of silly. It's kind of stupid background music, but what you want to do is under your project or settings right here, under project, you have the sound right here in the background. There's a soundtrack. So right now, I'm not sure if you can hear it, but I have kind of like a Hawaiian music going on. I was just testing something earlier. So this might be what's causing the bug. I don't know. But okay, so we're going to put some suspenseful music in there. So all you need to do that is you can double click, whoops, not double click rather. You want to right click in the soundtrack, and you want to import in a sound. So I need to find that folder. Production resources. Webinars, and I believe it's in here. Nope. This folder right here. Okay, so now we have this suspense music. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and load this in. You can load in MP3 or WAV files, doesn't really matter. Okay, so.
Clementine,
Hi, Daddy.
where have you been? I've been looking all over for you.
Oh, I've been around seeing your daughter on the other hand.
Okay, so what I'm going to do here is after the bad guy starts his little dialogue or monologue there, I'm actually going to right click on this suspense music clip here. We're actually going to break it, okay? Because I don't want the music to go anywhere beyond this. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that, and we're going to kind of fade it out. So you can actually right click on your, or double click on your clip rather, and there's a fade in and fade out. I'm going to fade it out to the maximum value, which I think is roughly about 2 seconds, I think. And we'll just change the volume a little bit down as well. It's kind of drowning out the characters. So leave it at about 80 right there. And
Where have you been? I've been looking all over for you.
Oh, I've been around seeing
so you can hear it fading
your
out now.
daughter on the other hand. Well, that's what I'm here to talk about.
Okay, now it kind of goes silent for this little section here. Now you can actually, right click and import in another sound from here. Again, we have to find that folder again, goodness sakes. Webinars and from script to iClone 7 strip. So this one will have the suspense sound in here. So this is kind of like a dun dun.
That's what I'm here to talk about.
Okay, so the master of suspense right there. So you can add that into your soundtrack. I normally use the soundtrack for like background music or ambient kind of sounds like street noise or something like that. That's what I use the soundtrack for. But you can also add other sounds to basically any object in your scene, any prop in your scene. So we can select this little TV cabinet over here, for example. Now let's just close down like object-related track on there. This TV cabinet, you can actually go into the TV cabinet and go into sound. So each individual prop has its own soundtrack. So you can basically have unlimited amount of sounds happening at once, which is pretty cool. All right, but we'll just leave it right there. So we have all our music set up. I showed you a very brief example of the facial expressions using the face key editor. But let's go ahead now and just take a look at Camerawork for the last couple minutes here. So what I'm going to do here is there's a couple things you can do for cameras here. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a quick camera. Go to create and select camera here. And it's going to create this camera at this frame right here, frame 1. And basically we want the first camera to kind of follow Zane. Okay, kind of follow him down the stairs. And what you also want to do is make sure that you have your camera selected. Where is the camera here? There we go, camera. And you can adjust the focal length of your cameras here. So if you want to have a closer length like that or further away, you can do so like this. Maybe 50 millimeter or 35 millimeter might be good for this particular situation, but I'm going to go ahead and use a 35 millimeter. Okay, and basically the lower your focal length is, the further apart things in your scene are going to look. So if you have a higher focal length of like 200 meters, everything's going to look really close together. So you can see we already through the wall right there. And whereas if we take 20 millimeter, boom, this is where we were with the same focal length. Okay, so be careful of that. Be aware of the different focal lengths right there. You can also animate the focal length as well. You can see it's in green text right here, so you can animate it. All right, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back into preview mode here. Now there's a couple things you can do for camera animation. You can see our camera, our physical camera right there. You can go ahead and create a path for your camera. You can go to create path, create and create path. And I'm going to use an overhead view here, as overhead as we can get. And I'm just going to go ahead and place a couple of kind of pylons or little markers, I guess you want to call them, right here, and maybe right here. Okay, and just go ahead and press W. We're going to bring that up like this. So you can see there's our path right there. It kind of goes through Zane at this point in time. All right, we'll just kind of bring it back like this. And you can take each individual marker. If you go to Edit Path, you can select each individual marker and bring them up or down like this, and make sure that you have them kind of facing the. Make sure that the up arrow is always facing up. Okay, for each individual marker there. So we'll just do something like this. I think this might go through his body, but we'll try and make it not so. All right, maybe just bring this marker a little bit over here. Okay, that should avoid the going through his body. Okay, so there's our path, and we'll just deselect Edit Path there. And then we're going to select our camera at frame 1, and my little control panel's in the way here. But what you want to do with the camera is you want to pick a path here at the bottom. So pick path and pick our first point right there. All right, and so as he reaches the bottom, we're going to have the camera at the position of 100. Okay, now it's still facing the same way, but we can also adjust the position of the camera by using the E hotkey and rotating it like this. And whoops, let's make sure you select that again and bring it up like this. So what's going to happen now is it's going to just kind of gradually go along like this, and you can add separate keyframes in it as well. So be about there. He's just gonna, the position is going to be like this. Now what we can do is we can press, I believe it's F9 or F8, not F9, F8 rather is the mini viewport, and we can select our camera in the mini viewport. So this is what it's going to look like if we scrub through the timeline. Okay, so we kind of went through the grill there, but that doesn't really matter. And I think that's fine. Okay, perfect. All right, that looks good. I kind of just kind of wanted an over the shoulder view of Zane there. Let's just go to this frame right here, and maybe we can adjust the camera a little bit down like that. Okay, so that's the end position right there. So now if we close down the mini viewport, let's press F8. I think that closes it down. Yep, there we go. Okay, we can do just like that, and let's just go ahead and play back. Or let's actually change to our camera view here, just so we can kind of see. Ideally, we don't want it to go through the grill there, but it kind of tends to work actually.
Clementine.
Hi, Daddy.
Okay, and so then we want to do some camera switching, and so as he says, Clementine right here. Basically, right here at this frame 350 is where we want to change the position of the camera. We want to create another camera, and this is going to be the Zane camera. So we'll just call this Zane mid. Okay, and this camera is going to be looking at Zane's face, just like this. Okay, boom, just like that. We'll kind of place him in the right third of the view right there, and let's just close down Zane and select that Zane mid camera, and I'm gonna make it make sure that this transform keyframe right here, we go ahead and select the transform. Make sure that transform keyframe is at the beginning, because this camera is always going to be in this position. Okay, so it doesn't really matter, you know, who's in the scene. But as at this point right here, about frame 312, we want the camera to switch to Zane, and then we want to create another camera, yet another camera, and this one's going to be Clem. We'll just call it Clem Mid. Okay, like a mid view of Clementine. And let's just zoom out here. Get some rotation on our camera. And just ignore her arm going through the pillow there. All these things can be adjusted at other times, but okay, so we'll just go ahead and do this. And we want to make sure that when Clementine stands up, so here we need to add a keyframe for this camera right here. So Clem Mid, we want to add a transform keyframe by double clicking, and then we can just bring it up like this. So it's going to just kind of zoom in and kind of go to this position right here. So we're going to put her on the left third of the screen, you know, the rule of thirds. I can explain that later if you guys are not familiar with the rule of thirds. So we have this movement of the camera like that.
Hi, Daddy.
Where have you been?
And maybe we need to actually bring the, oh gosh, it keeps on deselecting that camera. Let's bring, oh, she needs to be facing, looking at Zane as well. So that's why she looks weird that she's not looking at Zane. So let's select her and have her look at Zane as well. You can also look at a character from the, pick it from the scene manager here. So we'll have her look at Zane and all the head weight. Maybe we need to have him look at, yeah, it's looking at his head. Okay, so maybe she is looking at Zane. Maybe he's a little bit higher, or her eyes just look a little bit strange. Like she's looking kind of above the camera, I guess. But okay, so let's just let's work with that. Let's just choose Clem Mid, and with this last keyframe here, let's just bring the camera a little bit further up. Okay, I think that'll be a good position right there. Okay.
Hi, Daddy.
Where have you been?
Make sure this girl's actually looking at Zane. It doesn't look like she's actually looking at him. Let's check out the constraint here. Okay, for some reason it didn't work. Okay, so let's just do it manually. Let's switch to our preview camera before we do anything here. Look at, pick target, pick Zane's head. There we go. Now we have the look at constraint. Now we should see Clem Mid actually looking at the character in question. So, okay, so obviously she's looking to the side now, so we need to reposition that camera again. And this can be the challenge of, you know, getting your camera position exactly correct. And here we go. There we go. We want to try and get a position like this. All right.
Hi, Daddy.
Where have you been? I've been looking.
Okay, so we can just switch back to Zane at this point here with the camera.
Oh, I've been around.
And right here, what we want to do is we want to create a third camera or a last camera. We're going to call this Bad Dude. And I'm going to position this right in front of our character. Just like this, okay? And we're going to try and make him look intimidating. So we're going to have a kind of a bottom-up kind of angle like this. And let's just make sure we have this camera selected, Bad Dude. And we can take that, you know, transform position all the way down like that. And okay, so that's not going to work. So we need to make sure that we're, you know, right here, something like this. Okay, let's get a nice close-up of his face right there. All right, so if this has the right lighting and the right scene, the right beautification in the scene, like Chris is going to do in the next webinar, then it's going to look really awesome. I'll show you a brief preview of what it's going to look like, actually. So this is the last thing we're going to do, Bad Dude, and just bring that and all the way back. So what we need to do now is just add some quick camera switching in there. I know I'm a little bit over time, guys, and I apologize for that. But we're going to just add some quick camera switching in here, and we should be good to go after that. So let's go to the project track right here, and there's a switcher. So the first camera that we're going to use is the follow camera, which is just called camera. So let's go right-click it and select camera, and let's go over here to switch. Okay, so this is our first camera. Oh gosh. There we go. Okay.
Clement.
And before he gets to that point, here we're going to switch. We're going to right-click and switch to the Zane mid. Okay. So at this point here.
Time.
And so when she says hi daddy, we're going to switch to right-click on the switcher track and camera list and switch to Clem mid.
Hi, Daddy.
Where have you
And then we're going to right-click and switch again back to Zane mid. Okay.
been? I've been looking all over for you.
Oh,
And then at this point here, we'll right-click and go to camera list and select bad dude. Okay.
I've been around, seeing your daughter on the other hand. Well, that's what I'm here to talk about.
Okay, so originally I kind of have a camera movement where it kind of reveals the bad guy as opposed to just switching to the bad guy, but we're really short on time. It's just basic camera movement, but I just wanted to show you the basics here. So that's how we do some camera switching. And if we take off the auxiliary light, we can get a nice view like this. Let's just make sure we have some cool lighting all set up here. All right, this is just going to be our basic scene lighting. So let's just preview it one more time with the correct scene lighting and the switch. And this is what we have in an hour. Oops, let's make that all those cameras invisible there as well. And make our path invisible. All right, here we go. And we'll get to the Q&A session right after this.
Clementine.
Hi, Daddy.
Where have you
Okay,
been?
obviously we'll want to light the characters' faces a little bit better here.
I've been around, seeing your daughter on the other hand. Well, that's what I'm here to talk about.
Dun dun dun. All right, and there's a lot of subtleties that I didn't have a chance to add that were added in the final product that you can take a look at. I sent the video to you guys yesterday, like him tipping his hat with a gun and everything like that. But again, we had to kind of rush through this in an hour, and we did have a little bit of a bug happening at the beginning with the walk down the stairs, unfortunately. But we'll probably send you. I could probably send you a previous version of that where the walk cycle worked out correctly. If you're interested, just email me kai@reallusion.com. It's kai@reallusion.com there. All right, so we're going to go to the Q&A session now. Sorry I went a bit over time again, guys. Let's go and answer the questions here. And all right, looks like we have some already. All right, so quick question from Chris Rollison. My main animation issue is walking, timing the distance so the feet don't slide. It is frustrating. Yeah, walking can be like a huge problem in some cases, whether you're walking with using a path like I use with the camera. I find, to be honest, that if you want to get the walking absolutely correct with absolutely no foot sliding, then what you have to normally do is you have to manually position the feet a lot of the times using the motion key editor like I was doing with the stairs. That's the only way to really avoid feet sliding, but generally you can have a transform position from one position to the other. I mean, it's super easy to create a walk from one point to the next and just adjust the position so it's not sliding. And I can kind of show you an example of that later if you want, or you can just email me again and I can kind of demonstrate that for you. I can actually even create a private recording for you if you want. It's really simple to create a walk with very minimal sliding. And a lot of the animations that are in the content library a lot of these animations, like these walks here, have 0 sliding as well. So like the walk start, walk turn, and stuff like this, they have 0 sliding. So this is the Mixed Moves content pack, by the way, but there's a lot of them that have 0 sliding as well. So Annie asks, can you add steps to a terrain? Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's kind of what I did there. I guess this was at 4:03 p.m. So I kind of demonstrated that probably right after you asked there. You said, instead of making dummy steps to add to the terrain, why not just add the steps to the terrain themselves? Oh, the actual steps. Yeah, so the actual steps, you can probably do that as well. I just kind of want to show you an example of using dummies. Annie brings up a good point. I mean, you could probably just take the stairs themselves. Oh, I think, yeah, the reason that you couldn't do this, there was actually a problem with the mesh of the stairs. So if I select the stairs themselves, I'll show you why I use those dummies instead of the actual stairs themselves, because sometimes you'll have kind of a mesh that doesn't really match with your character. In fact, the stairs, the mesh is a really weird kind of mesh. If we go to the scene here, make sure we have the stairs selected. So if I added the stairs to the terrain here, take a look at what's going to happen if I right click and select convert to terrain. Our dude's going to be like, not sure why that, okay. Well, in previous examples anyways, the mesh was not working, so maybe you can do it for these stairs. So when I tried it before, it wouldn't allow us to, in 7.0, it wouldn't allow us to basically take these steps. The character would be above the stairs because the mesh had some kind of weird issue with it. So maybe that's a bug that was fixed in 7.1. But yeah, you can probably, I guess, just add the stairs themselves to the terrain just by right-clicking the stairs and selecting Convert to Terrain. All right, so interesting. I'll probably do that if I ever run through this again. It's probably an easier way to do it, and we can save a lot of time. All right, so thanks for the suggestion there, Annie. Hopefully we can do that again in the next run-through. Dawn asks, are you going to be recording this so I can download it? Yes, we're going to be recording this. We are recording it presently, so we'll be sending you out a link. For the first part with the stairs, I'd recommend we'll probably send you a recording from a previous run-through where the stairs animation actually worked and I didn't have that kind of bug issue there. And Dawn wants a link for the Mixamo. I'll send you a link to, just Mixamo.com is really all it is. You don't really need a link. I'll just send it anyways for you guys. Mixamo.com here. I'll put it in the chat window. And a comment from Jason says, have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again? I wish I could, but unfortunately when you're in the middle of a live webinar, you don't really want to turn off your computer and turn it back on again. I did that right before I did this webinar, so maybe that was the issue. Yeah, not sure what was the issue at the beginning there with the walk cycle, but apologies for that, guys. Okay, Helene says, if you set this up for Zane, but you later decide you want a different character, can you substitute them, or do you have to recreate the whole thing? Pretty good question, Helene. Very simple. You can actually substitute it really quickly. If I wanted to have a different character other than Zane, well, all you have to do is basically just select your character. Make sure you don't have his vest selected. Make sure you have the character themselves selected. Not sure what's wrong with the lighting here. Let's activate IBL. There we go. Anyways, the weird face texture was bothering me with the lighting. Okay, anyways, so with the character selected, you can just go to Content, and you can go to, see one with the little girl. You can actually just click and drag the little girl, and make sure there's a yellow box over your highlighted character, and just replace it. And so now we'll have the little girl talking to herself, walking down the stairs. We're also going to be sending out the project file for this, I believe. So you guys can test it out yourself. Okay, so we have the little girl doing the exact same animations, but obviously she's a little bit shorter and her center of gravity is a little bit different, so her feet are going to be a little bit further into the stairs. So you'll just have to make some small adjustments with the character here, like adjust the transform position to a little bit further up. Oh, and she has a foot contact on as well, so. Okay.
Clementine.
Hi, Daddy.
So there she is talking to herself. Okay, so really easy. Just click and drag the same character on top of the previous character. Really easy to replace any characters that you have, regardless of the animations on the screen. Okay. Okay, so Annie asks a good question. How do you solve the glitch with the girl's hair freaking out when she moves? So the hair has to do with physics. Now, I recently found something with the character that allows you to, gosh, I think this was coming with 7.2, but there's a feature with 7.2, I believe, coming up, where when you press play, your character's hair won't suddenly just freak out like that. Okay.
Clementine.
I think, let me just see if it's in this version here. I think it was in 7.2, but let's just try and select the hair here by itself and go to physics. So you can adjust the physics of your hair in this in the physics tab right here. Gosh. Yeah, I can't really say, to be honest, but there is different hair, physics right here as well. If you want to have like straight hair physics or spiked hair physics. Okay,
Hi,
so
Daddy.
the spiked hair physics, it'll be a little bit less freaky. Okay, so you can see it's still kind of flopping around a bit, but it's a little bit better because it's a bit more rigid, so it's not flopping around as much. It really depends on your individual hair types, but you can try and adjust the type of hair that your character has, and see if any of these values work out. We have a whole bunch of tutorials that get into more detail on the physics and everything, but there is one feature I remember. Gosh, sorry guys, I just learned about it a couple weeks ago myself, but there is something that where we deal with that, where physics at frame 1, the physics kind of just pop out sometimes, and there is a way to deal with it. But I think it's coming up with 7.2, so sorry about that. Okay, a question from Zola. Why do characters that you've already added motions to fly up and turn around sometimes when you add a motion to them? Fly up and... Because basically, I think what you're talking about is like what I just experienced actually with the turning motion and after the stepping down motion. So the root position of your character will change. Now, what I'm talking about here, I'll give you a quick example as our character's walking down the stairs. The root of your character is going to be found, let's select the character first. When you press the W hotkey, that's where you're going to find the root of your character. So right now the root of our character is way down here. All right, so if we bring her up like this, the root of the character is way down here. And different motions will have different roots for the character. So, I've experienced issues where the root of the character, especially with certain motions, your character will just kind of flip to the side, with different motions, and that's because if you import motions from different sources, like Maya or Max or something like that, they all have different. The root of the character is facing in different directions. So maybe right now, for example, this character is facing the negative x-axis. So the green arrow is the x-axis, and that's facing behind the character. It's facing that direction, which is behind the character. So this character is facing negative x direction. But sometimes when people create a motion in Max or Maya, their character might be facing the red direction, which is the x-axis. So positive x or negative x. And when you combine those two motions together in iClone, obviously the character's root is rotated in a different direction. So like I showed you before, the way to resolve that is at the very beginning of the blend area, the transition area, at the very beginning of it, you want to add a transform keyframe, and at the very first frame of the second clip, you want to add another transform keyframe. So like what I did right here, let's make sure our character is selected there. So again, an example right here before the turning. So you can see that I added a keyframe right here and a keyframe right here. And that normally solves the problem. You just have to kind of adjust the position between these. And for some reason in this one, I'm not sure why, it kind of floated up and down like that, but that's kind of annoying. But the way to solve it is to add keyframes in every separate frame that's not in the position you want it to be, which can be a little bit tedious, but it's the way to solve it right now. And there's also the option to in 6 or 7.1 rather, you can create a transition clip as well. So when you create a transition clip, it's going to create a clip right here, and then you can just adjust the position. Let's just delete that middle one right there, and it should be okay. So again, right here, you need to adjust that position, make sure the character is in the, and this time the root is way over here. So you can see for the transition, we're so far away from the original root that actually the pivot point is way over here. Okay, so then the way to solve this would be like right here. All right. Yeah, it's not going to work with the transition clip, but generally what you'll have to do is you'll have to add a keyframe for every different frame here, and just kind of make sure the position is maintained at this point. That transition clip normally should work, and like I mentioned, I think there may be some sort of bug at work here, but it does work in general. All right, so okay, Stefan asks, can you explain quickly the difference between the real-time and the by frame animation? That can be found down here, real-time and by frame. So generally, the only time we use by frame animation is when we're simulating physics, because by frame animation will allow for more detailed recording of your soft cloth physics or your rigid body physics. Okay, so if you're baking your physics simulation, you want to make sure that you have by frame animation. Okay, so just use the by frame setting when you're baking your physics, and then you can go ahead and turn it off afterwards, and it'll maintain that by frame. So the steps here that you want to take normally is step 1, when you want to simulate your physics in the most accurate way possible, switch to by frame, time mode switch. Okay, switch to by frame, and make sure that your soft body and rigid body simulations are on, and play back. And when you play back, that's going to record the most accurate possible physics results. Okay, and once you've recorded all your physics, then you can turn these off. Make sure you turn them off afterwards, because if you still have them on and you switch to real time, then it's just going to re-record. It's going to re-record the physics results, and it may not be as accurate as it was with by frame. So after you recorded your physics results, switch out of by frame to real time, turn off your simulations, and you'll still have the results. Okay, that's the best answer I can give to you for the difference between real time and by frame animation. All right, so Don asks, how do you get characters to have weight? I'm not sure what you mean there. I think you may mean like with adding physics weight to like adding physics weight to props. Unfortunately, characters are a lot more complex than a simple prop, so we can't really add a lot of weight to them, and they are not physics enabled characters. So if you select the character body, for example, there's no option for physics up here. Whereas if you select any other object like this arcade machine over here, you have this physics tab that you can activate the physics on. Okay, we can have this arcade machine smash through a window, or do all kinds of silly stuff. Okay, so Jason asks, one of my biggest challenges is getting a character to interact with props, like a sword. Can you show us a quick demo of interacting with a prop? Yeah, I guess I could do that. I'm not sure if I have a sword available. I haven't used a sword in one of my projects for a while. The best way to have a sword, I can probably actually give you a tutorial, which would be better, because it'll go into a lot more detail. It's not a really simple procedure, but generally what you want to do is, I'm just going to search for this real quick. iClone reach target. Yeah, so this is probably a good tutorial. It's 6 years ago. Holy smokes, I'm an old guy. Okay, so this is from iClone 5, but the process is essentially still the same. We should have. I'm not sure if we have a more recent one. Reach target, maybe. Okay, I'm just gonna link this for you, Jason. There, it's a bit old, but the fundamentals are still the same, and I think the UI obviously has changed. It's from iClone 5, but I'm gonna put this in the chat window for you there, just so you can check it out on your own time. Okay, so this will explain all you need to know about interacting with a sword, pretty much. I thought we may have something more. Whoops, something more recent. I was back in the day when we had music in the backgrounds of our tutorials. Yeah, I think that might be the only one that we've have. We'll probably have to update that since it's 6 years old already. Holy smokes! All right. Yeah, so Jason, just check that link in the chat window, and if you have any questions, again, you can just email me at kai@reallusion.com. All right. So Helene asks, can you change the pivot point of a motion? Yeah, you definitely can. So the root of a motion, I mean, you have to do that generally in 3D Exchange. For your character, can you change pivot points for your character? I'm not sure, actually. You can do it for props, I know, for sure. I don't think we have a pivot point for characters, though. No, unfortunately not. But for any motion that you import into 3D Exchange, let's see if it works this time, there will be an option for you here to, I'm kind of curious to see if this fixed itself. Whatever. Oh, well, there you go. Zippity-doo-dah. My computer was just freaking out for some reason. So, all right. So what's going to happen is you can adjust the pivot position of any of these motions here. Right here, edit pivot. Okay. So you go over here to edit pivot, and you can bottom center, pivot center. Okay. So you can change it to the scene root, or you can manually adjust it like this. So if you're importing in a motion, you can just take any iClone motion and do the same thing as well. This is using the Mixamo motion, by the way. Okay, so again, you can manually change the pivot point to wherever you want, just this way. Generally, I like to keep it at the bottom center myself, or the scene root. Scene root is always a good choice because that's generally the middle of everything, and all your pivot points are zero, or all your pivot values rather are zeroed out. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's how you can adjust the pivot point of any motion, because this is actually a motion. Don't worry about the mesh. It's just a mesh. It's just the physical. You have to get down to the bones of it to actually for the actual motion itself. That didn't make any sense whatsoever. Anyways, that's how you edit the pivot point of your motions. Generally, you don't want to do that too much, but that's how you would do it anyways. Okay, so Zola asks, is the baking and animations process the same in iClone 6 and iClone 7? Yes, the baking is the same. We haven't changed any of the baking animation stuff in iClone 6 or iClone 7. All right, so I think we've finally reached the end of our questions here. Yeah, again, if you guys have any more questions, I'm always open. My email is open. My door is open. My email door is open. kai@reallusion.com. That's KAI@reallusion.com. And I'll be able to answer your questions. Again, apologies for the beginning where the bug kind of affected our 3D Exchange import and our walk cycle. Okay, so yeah, it was kind of a difficult time, but we got through it. My computer self-corrected itself, and we could run through it again if you guys want, but I'm a little bit, it's time to have some dinner. All right, but anyways, just a couple of reminders again. Fill out the survey that we send out to you guys via email, and we'll be giving you a 10% discount on the content store. You can spend that on whatever your heart desires. And again, we'll be sending out a recording of this webinar, probably a recording of the previous run through of this webinar, since we had a couple of bug issues at the beginning. Yeah, I think that's probably what we'll do. But anyways, Thanks so much for attending, everyone. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate everyone's interest. And again, if you have any other questions, we have a really great community of users at our forums. It's forum.reallusion.com. A lot of those people have, well, I'll just say a lot of time on their hands, I guess, and they have time to answer questions from a lot of newbies. So if you have any animation questions, you'll probably get the best help from the forums as well. Yes, so that's about all she wrote, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And make sure you come back tomorrow for part 3, where we're going to beautify the scene. Chris is going to beautify the scene that we've just created and animated, hopefully, if he's not running away from California fires. Wish you all the best, Chris, wherever you are. And yeah, so thanks, everyone, again. I'll see you later. We're going to have a curve editor webinar, hopefully later this month as well. It's a new feature with iClone 7. Really interesting animation feature. Also, Chris is going to be hosting that along with myself. So make sure you stay tuned and check that out as well. All right, so yeah, thanks everyone, and I'll sign off now. So see you guys, and have an awesome Thursday/Wednesday, whatever day it is for you guys. Okay, bye now.